All right, so let's do a little more proof that, all right, so let's show a little more proof that Dr. Fauci is absolutely a disgusting, bureaucratic, oligarchic scumbag. Back in 2009, 10, and 11, Dr. Judy Mikovitz and her colleagues were able to associate retroviruses with chronic diseases, specifically prostate cancer and chronic fatigue syndrome, amongst many others as well. During which time, the bureaucracy of the scientific community, the federal scientific community, backed by federal aid, federal funding, all of that, then attacked this woman and ended up essentially taking control of and credit for the work that she did while simultaneously smearing and discrediting these people, okay? And jailing them and gag ordering them, okay? So these people were completely disgraced, discredited. This woman was bankrupted and is currently still facing issues with the federal government, not even related in most cases to what was going on back in 2009 and 10 when they again associated retroviruses with chronic disease and cancer, okay? Which would change the entire direction of where our research would need to go in order to cure our diseases, right? And so this woman was smeared, and I want to go back a couple of years to Dr. Fauci speaking at Harvard Law School, okay? And he openly jokes about in the future, if it turns out and we come to find out that these viruses were responsible for our chronic ailments and illnesses. And then he claims he's just kidding. These are Freudian slips. There is no coincidence here. He means what he says, and this is a prime example. Check it out, and then I'm going to give you a clip of what Dr. Judy Mikovitz actually is meaning with her research and what they found out, so that you know that the field scientists that were used by Dr. Fauci and the National Institute of Health and all of these other bureaucratic establishments, what they were doing and what they continue to do to keep from the public vital information for discourse that needs to be in the public domain. This discourse needs to happen because this is not what they say it is. Enjoy.
The reason it was said that way because of the relationship between the immune response and infections historically, immunology grew out of infectious diseases. And I always joke with my co-institute directors that probably sooner or later every disease is going to turn out to be related to an infectious disease. Just kidding. I just want more money.
And how many other retroviruses are there aside from the HIV and XMRV?
There's the HTLV1 family, so human T-cell leukemia lymphoma virus family. There are 5 or 6 of them, but only one is known to cause severe disease. That's HTLV1 that Frank and Bernie isolated. There's one called human beta retrovirus that's associated with primary biliary cirrhosis, and that's the work of Andy Mason in Canada. And a lot of our patients with ME/CFS also have family members with primary biliary cirrhosis. So there are at least 4 families of human retroviruses that we know: the Delta, the Lenti, the Beta, the Gamma.
And what do you perceive as being the most significant threat? Is it which one of those?
It's the XMRV, beyond a shadow of a doubt.
And how much more of an impact do you think XMRV is having than HIV?
Right now HIV is contained, but because XMRV integrates more specifically into hotspots, so it integrates into very key immune response genes. One that's called TET2, which we could talk about later, is very, very, very important in methylation machinery in diseases of methylation, and TET2. So one of the problems is they use murine leukemia viruses as vectors for gene therapy and the new cancer therapy called CAR T-cell therapy. So the louder I scream, you're kidding me, you're causing cancer. And that's how we're learning TET too. And so you can look at the cover of Time magazine where there's a young woman with a cancer, and she got so sick. What did she get? ME/CFS. So the same thing with Gardasil, with all of these things. We're causing these diseases, and we know it because we're using these as vectors. We don't need infectious virus. That's one thing that's really important to know. You don't need infectious virus if you're injecting the provirus or the pieces and parts. You injected them past your immunity, past your gut, past RNA cell, past everything. You bypass the immune system. They don't need to be infectious. All you need is an envelope to cause that prostate cancer. And that's a paper that was published. And so in most of our studies, all we detected was the envelope. So the envelope alone causes vasculitis. Think of the strokes, think of the heart diseases. And another gamma retrovirus was isolated by Gary Owens, not isolated, but identified by Gary Owens, another family member from mice, and associated with cardiovascular disease. So this is just a nightmare that we've unleashed on our environment.
So let's talk about the prevalence.